Before Final Fantasy 15 came out, I was very skeptical about the combat. How are you gonna remove my turn-based combat? You're gonna take away the strategizing and the planning and all that good shit. Well, ladies and gentlemen, after actually getting my hands on the game, I can proudly say that these concerns are no longer an issue. I can also say that this might actually be the most fun I've had fighting enemies in a Final Fantasy game or any RPG/ARPG, period. But one thing I have to throw out there right away, this is not a traditional turn-based RPG. It's not like the ones we grew up with. Those games, they're always going to have a place in my heart. But I believe that the combat system in 15 is a direct evolution of the older games. And really, I should expect nothing less from Square Enix. They have always been on the forefront of improving their tech, their visuals, and gameplay. Yes, the combat might have been modernized, but by no means does that mean it's been watered or dumbed down for the masses. The combat comes with challenge. Most of the time we're just mindlessly button mashing the attack button will not work. It's like the title says every time you start a new game or every time you start the game. A Final Fantasy for fans and newcomers. In my opinion, Square has found a way to do just that by mixing in some old elements with new ones. With that being said, the battle system is far from perfect and has a few issues that I'll cover in just a minute. So, without further ado, here's my review for the combat of Final Fantasy.
Awesome in every sense.
Fast, and even faster. The combat in this game is on a completely different level from previous FF titles. If I had to compare it, this battle system is what would happen if FF12 and Kingdom Hearts had a baby. While it does sound great on paper, and for the most part, it's fantastic, the animations are rock solid. Watching Noctis dodge and flip around enemies while switching weapons and having your team members interact with your combat moves is just awesome. However, there are a few nitpicks that often take me out of the experience, like the targeting, for example. While there is lock-on targeting, I often found Noctis to fly off the screen and attack things that weren't even in my viewing range. I guess this could be a way to stop button mashing and actually slow down while you're fighting, but I felt like the targeting could have used a few options like stop attacking when your current enemy dies, or maybe even a toggle lock-on feature so I wouldn't have to hold the targeting button while I'm fighting. Also, personally, I would love to switch the targeting button itself to R3. Bringing up that map accidentally while in combat is annoying, but you know, I guess I can retrain my muscle memory over time. The default camera was another thing I had small annoyances with. It's pretty average for a combat system of this caliber, and that's not usually a good thing, especially with narrow corridors and indoor spaces. The camera often stays pretty close to Noctis, and it's hard to get a beat on what's around you and what to attack next. Granted, this might be the point, and might even add to the difficulty, and I can respect that. But sometimes I feel like the camera works against you rather than with you, especially when there's a horde of goblins packed into a small room. And yeah, a lot of mobs will attack you pretty fast. They'll even force you into a corner if you aren't aware of your surroundings, or if you don't warp to safety. My biggest question is, why the hell do objects not go transparent when I'm in front of them? I can't tell you how many times trees, bushes, or random things would obstruct my view or obstruct my camera.
Can see behind the boulder.
Okay, so it's not all bad. There are options to remedy some of these issues in the options menu. Turning the camera to far helps get a better understanding of what's trying to flank you. I personally prefer the middle camera myself to keep me feeling like I'm in the action while not zooming out too much. A lot of console games don't have these options, so it's a plus in my book. Camera and targeting aside, the aesthetic and overall feel of combat feels fantastic and engaging. Weapons feel weighted and just right. The slowness whenever Gladio or Noctis wields a two-handed weapon really gives you this sense of overwhelming power, even when it's time to be quick and evasive. The flow of combat still holds up. When I started the game, I originally thought that I had to time each and every single enemy attack in order to phase through or dodge with Noctis. But later, I found out that you can just hold the dodge button and Noctis will automatically evade everything so long as he has enough MP to do so. Having Noctis warp in and out of combat onto buildings and ledges, or even into enemies with Warp Strike, has quite possibly become my favorite mechanic in the game thus far. Seriously, this man is like Siri from Witcher 3 on steroids. Well, once again, at least until he runs out of MP. The magic is both powerful and scary to use. As it should be, spells often interact with the surrounding environment, which can either be helpful or detrimental to your squad via friendly fire. You know, it's actually pretty cool to see this use with caution approach to magic in this RPG. Fighting in the rain or fighting in a shallow lake? Probably not the best time to cast the lightning.
Nice.
Exploring it even further, there is a form of spell crafting. This allows you to combine up to 3 spells and items to increase its potency. Do you want to dual cast fire and lightning at random? Go ahead, mix the two together. Do you want your blizzard to also heal you and your teammates? Throw a potion into the mix. It was pretty exciting to try new combinations and see what I could come up with. And I think that's another thing I like about this combat system. While it's not exactly the turn-based battle system that many of us love, the action combat is not your standard hack and slash to win. You can spam your dodge and attack all you want, but you will probably not be very successful, as most battles you'll have to watch your timing and your blocking and parrying big attacks. You'll also have to be very mindful of the positioning and the exact angle that you attack your enemies from. Doing this will usually reward you with team-based attacks. Your team attacks usually depend upon the skills that you unlock via your ascension tree. They also depend on which weapons you're using at the time and who's nearby you. For the most part, the party AI is actually pretty competent. They aren't just a nuisance that you leave alone to not even bother with. No, your teammates are just as vital to the combat as any other element. Party members come with their own set of techniques. These skills can be equipped and used in battle whenever there's enough energy on the tech gauge. The more you use your teammates' techniques, the stronger those techniques become. The game makes it worth the AP investment in their techniques and teamwork ascension trees. Having a strong team makes the combat go by so much faster. Now, if only there was a skill that can make them run away from areas I obliterate with magic, I give them the AI of the Year award. I also wish that there were AI combat roles or actions that I can give them, like assigning Prompto specifically to stay in the back lines at all times so he doesn't die every 5 seconds. Or something that like you might find in a Star Ocean game or a Tales of game, but sadly there's none of that here for your squad. They mostly act on their own, and while it's not bad, I would love to have that extra level of control over the unit. But who knows, maybe in due time, we'll be able to switch our characters in combat. Maybe it'll be in a patch, or maybe it'll be in DLC, but I really hope it's not in DLC. Bear can dream. Also, props to the animators who worked on the team attack animations in this game, because damn. By default, the game utilizes an active combat system. What I didn't know when I originally started playing was that there is also another combat profile called Wait Mode. When Wait Mode is selected, every time you stand still, time will freeze while in combat. Wait Mode allows you to carefully plan your attacks, you can scan enemies for weaknesses, you can use items, you can see what's around you, change your weapons while the world stands still. One thing to remember is that the wait mode does come with a catch. You can't stand still forever because there is a wait timer. While the bar does move down pretty slowly, I can see using wait mode more efficiently in longer and drawn out fights because it does not replenish easily. Thankfully, the wait mode does have its own section in the ascension tree. Here, you can level up weight related skills like boosting damage on weaknesses of the scanned enemies, you can increase your wait timer, and you can do more. It kinda had me scratching my head because there is no tree for the active mode, but at least there's some type of incentive to use the wait mode. I found it to be pretty helpful because I love to be strategic when it's needed, like fighting monsters 10 times my level. Now, while wait mode is helpful, activating it by standing still sometimes can be a bit wonky. Oftentimes, I found myself standing still for 2 to 3 seconds and it wouldn't appear, when it turns out that you have to be absolutely still in order for it to activate. I think I would love to have a wait mode activation button, maybe like R3 and L3 at the same time to activate wait mode. Or at the very least, maybe a toggle between the active and wait without having to pause the game and go into the options every time to select it. I see the complaints about the game, especially from those who haven't played it yet. The one that caught most of my attention was how easy the game was or seemed. Criticisms relate to how the combat was not that challenging and it's pretty much hold circle to win. Right, but to be fair, yes, some fights are easy, but this is usually when you vastly out-level the enemies you fight. Even then, sometimes they can give you trouble depending on certain mechanics. Now, one mechanic that I did want to bring up were the Quicktime Events. In Final Fantasy XV, the Quicktime Events aren't pushovers, nor are they impossible. They're just right in the middle, and they almost flow with the combat seamlessly. Certain Quicktime Events only appear for a few seconds and can turn the tide of a hard fight. And if you're skeptical about that, then I would suggest fighting 2 red giants simultaneously at night while slightly underleveled. It could get pretty exciting. I did find using your curatives like potions and Phoenix Downs with little to no cooldown a little cheesy, but I did like being able to rally your teammates by patting them on the back or using Ignis's regroup technique to escape massive wipes. In conclusion, I had a blast with the combat in FF15. Is it perfect? No. I hated being blindsided by random objects like trees, and the targeting sometimes threw me off, but I learned to be patient with my attacks and got the hang of it. Still, I had a blast. I know it isn't the turn-based game that some of us wanted, but I wasn't disappointed, and I can respect Square for changing the combat into this engaging and visually impressive experience. Personally, I think it's a step in the right direction. So long are the days of your characters doing all of these amazing techniques and skills on their own. While those looked absolutely amazing, you yourself, the player, weren't really in control, but rather watching a cutscene of the action. And I think that's what I appreciate the most about this battle system. You're the one in control of the badassness being displayed. And personally, I wouldn't have it any other way in my action RPGs. Square Enix, you found a sweet spot. With a little minor improvements here and there, I eagerly await episode 1 of that Final Fantasy VII remake. Alright guys, so that pretty much wraps up my review here. Now it's opinion time. I would like to know, what are your thoughts about the battle system in Final Fantasy XV? Do you like it? Do you prefer the older ones? Wait turn based versus action based? Let me know in the comment section below and I would love to engage with you guys in a discussion. And make sure to hit that like button if you enjoyed watching this review, or if you didn't like it so much, go ahead and hit that dislike button. It's perfectly cool. It's a free country. You can do whatever the hell you want. And if you would like to see more videos like this, just make sure to hit that subscribe button so you will be notified whenever I have anything new coming out. Stay subscribed and you will always be notified. Ladies, gentlemen, and humans alike, thank you so much for watching this entire video. You are awesome. I hope you stay tuned for the next review, but until then...
Like the walls was grazing on his ball sack or something. Oh.